me tell you the names of the great musicians I have working with me here. My 30th year doing the band. That's Bob Harris down there on the hot guitar. He worked about 15 years with Vassar Clemens. It's really good to have him playing with me. I love playing with him. Kathy Devine, the Sound Beach Songbird on the guitar. I'm sure you all know who my bass player is. It's over here on the 5 string. He's played with everybody from Bill Monroe, Jimmy Martin, Don Reno, and he's been playing with me for the last 6 years. Started out playing together with his dad and the Sykes boys. That's Ernie Sykes back there. Gentleman over here on the 5-string banjo knows my music better than anybody else in the whole world. I love the way he plays, really straight ahead with a lot of drive. Putnam Valley, that's Jerry Olan. Let's see, another year out there at the Berkshire Mountains Bluegrass Festival. Bill Monroe was there again, and we're all kind of hanging backstage there and playing little mandolins and stuff. And Jesse Brock was there playing with his family, and he was probably about 12 years old or so. Maybe he wasn't even 12 years old. And you know, just kind of staring up at Bill. So finally, Bill Monroe looked over at him and he said, "Who's your favorite mandolin player?" And Jesse looks up at him and says, "Doyle Lawson." Bill got mad at him. I thought that was funny. I mean, a little kid like that. Yeah, he's turned into quite a mandolin player, hasn't he? And later on that evening, Monroe was doing his evening show, and I was standing in the audience. All the entertainers were up there watching the father perform. And I was standing next to Bill Keith and Peter Rowan, 2 ex-bluegrass boys. And so Bill starts looking over in our general direction and kind of starts gesturing like this. So I kind of looked at them. They were both ex-bluegrass boys, you know, and we all looked at each other. I don't know. So finally he went back and he started playing a little bit more, and he's looking over. And a little bit later he comes over to the side of the stage again, and he's like this, you know, looking at each other again. Who was he looking at, you know? I didn't think for 1 minute he was talking about me. So he goes back again. Now the 3rd time he comes over and he's mad, and he's like this. And so they looked at me and said, "Well, you better go up there." So, I mean, I walked up there kind of like on cloud 9 and went backstage. My mandolin was there, and the MC for many, many years was Bill Vernon, a good friend of mine, and he said, "You better get up there, he's mad." So I grabbed my mandolin and kind of, I'm going to just walk out on stage in the middle of Bill Monroe's show, you know? And I did, and honestly, I can't even remember what we played, because I was just on cloud 9, you know? And, he started doing stuff like that with me, and it kind of became that I would go and visit with him before a show, and he'd say, "Well, play me something on the mandolin," and I would play all the tunes that he showed me the last time, and he'd sit there, and sometimes he'd just grab that mandolin right out of my hand, play it again, give it back to me. I was supposed to give it back to him like that. And then, as I started working, and I worked really hard at this, friends, I gotta tell you, I mean, I was probably worked 6 hours a day playing mandolin, just listening, rewinding the tape, play it again. And then when I get together with Bill, I kind of find out if I had it down right or not. He would let me know if I wasn't doing it right, believe me. And finally one time, he said, well, he was going out to play, and he said, "Well, you better bring that mandolin with you." And he said, "Well, you want to play, don't you?" And so I said, "Yes, sir. What an honor." So, middle of the show, he called me out, and we'd play Frog on a Lily Pad, of course. And then there was a few other ones that we play every time. A couple times he even said, "Let's sing one." And if any of you folks have followed the band, you notice that I don't sing. Still trying to be a success in the music business, folks. So I kind of leave that to others. And I said, "Well, Bill, maybe we'll pick one instead." And it was just a real honor, and it became a lot of fun for me too. I kind of look forward to that. And I know he was bringing me out to encourage me, maybe looking towards these days when he'd be gone and people would be trying to carry on his music and stuff. And I know that's why he was doing it for me. So the next step in that progression was I started writing my own music, and most of it, all the early stuff was just hardcore Bill Monroe style. One of the first ones I wrote for him, and I called it Monroe Special, and it's been a really, really good number for me. So I put out a book of mandolin music, and of course Monroe Special was in it. And I was telling Bill about the book, and finally I said, well, it's about ready to come out. And he said, well, let's play it on the show. But he had never heard it before, you know, and the band had never heard it before. And I didn't want to come out in the middle of Bill Monroe's show, play a tune nobody in the band had heard before, and, you know. So he said, well, you just get with Tom Ewing, his guitar player, and everything will be fine. And he had decided we were going to do it. So I did get together with Tom, and quite frankly, Tom wasn't too interested in learning my tune. He wasn't paying much attention, wasn't quite getting the chords right, and he was on his break. And, you know, he's entitled to relax a little bit, but I'm thinking, Bill wants me to come out and play this tune, and it doesn't look like anyone is going to know it. And Mike Bubb was playing bass with Bill Monroe at the time, and Dana Cup was playing banjo, and Bubb said, hey, that's a cool tune, let's play it again. He grabbed his bass, and Dana grabbed his banjo, and we ran through it a few times, and Dana took his banjo break, sounded good. So, okay. So Bill called me up, and we played Frog on a Lily Pad, and let's do another one. And I hesitated, and I'll tell you, friends, I was going to chicken out on playing it. I just wasn't feeling real solid about it, and Mike Bubb said, hey, play that one you wrote, the one you wrote for Bill. And I looked over at Bill, and he was nodding his head, yes. Okay, so off we go with Monroe Special. And let me tell you, to play a tune that you wrote and be on stage with Bill Monroe and have him chunking rhythm behind your tune, it's like you just died and went to heaven, you know. There's just nothing like it. And we finished the tune, and the crowd was really clapping, and so Bill says, I want him to put that on a tape and send it to me down in Nashville, and we're going to learn it and play it on the Grand Ole Opry. So the crowd is clapping and going crazy, and then he says, maybe you'll come and play with me there sometime. You know, I'm saying, yes, sir, I'll do that. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but what did happen was when my mandolin book came out, went down to Virginia Beach, big festival down there. It was about 110 degrees, and Bill had his three-piece suit on and his felt hat, and not a drop of sweat on him, man. It was incredible. He did like an hour show, and then he signed autographs for another hour in the blazing sun. I had a t-shirt and shorts on, and I was like dying, you know. And finally he saw me, and if any of you ever shook hands with Bill, a lot of times he grabbed you and try to kind of pull you off balance a little bit. He'd tuck you over, tucks me over, and we visit a little bit, and he must have asked me 3 times, when are you coming to Nashville? When are you coming to Nashville? Finally I said, I'll come whenever you want me to be there, Bill. And then, and we used to kid around a little bit together, and so I decided I would kind of put it on him. So I took my book and I said, can you play this number? And it said Monroe Special, and it was written out in music notation, which you couldn't read a note of. And at the bottom it said, Buddy Merriam Music, BMI. Yes. Well, he started staring at that page. He got 15 feet tall again, and he was frowning, and I knew him pretty good, and it really didn't look like he was kidding, you know? He looked me right in the eye and he said, I wrote that number. I couldn't, he wasn't kidding, you know, and I don't think I even replied. And then it seemed like forever went by, and then he was staring at me again. He said, I wrote that number 50 years ago. He was angry. And I thought, he's written, you know, hundreds and hundreds of tunes. What does he need my tune for? And finally he says, Bluegrass Special, like that. I thought I was off the hook, you know, and a little senior moment, and I said, oh yeah, Bill, I know that, that's one of your great numbers. I said, sure, I know that one, but this is the one I wrote for you. Remember, we played it at the Turning Point together? Nothing, you know. At this point, I feel like I'm just flapping in the breeze there. And I think I mentioned we were down in Virginia Beach, and there was, I'd have to say, a good crowd of rednecks around this northern guy, Bill accusing him of stealing one of his songs, and it felt like they were just moving in on me, you know. So I had my guitar player's boy with me, and he played some mandolin. He was a really good little mandolin player, and I knew Bill would have just been tickled to meet him. And I introduced him. Nothing. So finally some people came and asked if they could have their picture made with him, and I took that opportunity to back out. And I was really mad at him. You know, I realized I should have cut him some slack. He was 80-something years old, and it was a senior moment, you know, and I didn't even say goodbye to him when I left, which was a mistake on my part. And all the way home, I was thinking, you know, gee, I hope this isn't the last thing I ever say and see Bill while he's alive. And thankfully it wasn't. The next time I saw him, when are you coming to Nashville? Had me up to play, and you know, so I'm pretty relieved that it's a moment I'll never forget my whole life. I wrote that number. Well, maybe we'll play Monroe Special.